Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. So, if you're new to the channel, my name's Kobe Mercury Clark. I'm a photographer. I have been doing photography for a ridiculously long period of time, and I have always gravitated back towards the Pentax system. So, I created this channel to give back to the community and showcase everything Pentax related. Now, this is not specifically just for Pentax. I know other brands do have some of these features, but we're going to look at what I believe are two features that you absolutely should double check and play around with to figure out what works best for you. These are often overlooked, especially with the Pentax K-3 Mark III. There is one feature in there I see a lot of people aren't even aware that it exists or what it does. I have covered these settings previously in separate videos, but I figured we're heading into the new year. Holidays are coming up. People are going to be wanting to take pictures, family, and all that stuff. So let's get the most out of what you can get image quality wise on your Pentax camera. So first thing first, yeah, that works. That works, right? Right? Yeah. Okay, Bodiless Bella agrees with me. So we're going to look at linking the exposure to the autofocus point. That's going to be one. It does make a pretty good difference when you have that enabled versus disabled. It's not quite like spot metering. We're going to go through all that so you can visually see exactly what it does. I'm going to do this all in live view. You'll see it all. And the other one we're going to look at is the auto ISO feature, setting the shutter speed for when the camera decides to change the ISO. When is that ceiling? What does that whole feature do? Because I'm sure there are a lot of you who have never used it. You saw it and probably, I don't know, just next, right? So, I mean, we're all focused on the autofocus. We're focused on the frames per second. We're focused on the high ISO capability. But these are good tools to know if you want to extract the absolute most out of your own image quality, and these are often overlooked. So we're going to take a look at them. Like right now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's get started. We are going to start off with the option of linking the auto exposure and autofocus point. So what does that mean? Well, it sets whether to adjust the exposure value in accordance with the brightness of the autofocus point position. So if spot metering is a bit too much, it's not quite what you're looking for, this is another way to fine tune the exposure on the subject, assuming that the subject is where the autofocus point will be. So what does that actually look like? Well, right now it's off. So let's take a look here. And you can see my settings, ISO 800, 1/10 of a second at f2.8. And this is with the HD 1650 PLM, HD DA 1650 f2.8 PLM on the K3 Mark III. And let's fire off a shot here. And now let's change this to on. So we're now going to link the exposure to the focus point. And as you see right now, the shutter speed changed to 1/4 of a second from, I believe it was 1/10 of a second. And you can see the background is a bit brighter and the lit up area is pretty much overexposed. So let's just compare the two images here. So this is the image with the auto exposure linked to the autofocus point, and this is without it linked to the autofocus point. So in this image here, what the camera is doing is it's evaluating the entirety of the scene and averaging everything out, right? Just in just your average metering mode. And this is biasing the exposure based on where the autofocus point itself is. We still have it on, so let's move the camera around and keep an eye on the bottom left there where the shutter speed is. Right now it's at 1/4 of a second, and as you can see, it's moving. And I have exposure simulation on, so you'll see the image brightness and everything move as I move the autofocus point around. So this is one setting you really should take a look at if you're not overly happy with the exposures that you're currently getting. The next item on the list is the ISO sensitivity setting. So this works in semi-auto modes. Right now, what mode am I? I didn't even look. I'm in aperture value. So let's go into here, and you can set your ISO auto upper limit, which basically means that what is your highest ISO you're comfortable utilizing. And then you can set what your lowest ISO would be for your comfort level. For example, if you're shooting in a dark exposure area, then most likely you would want to increase that from ISO 100 to say something like ISO 400. And your ISO auto upper limit, that's entirely up to you. How much noise do you want to deal with? Does it bother you? Does it not? But we'll leave it at 100 as the minimum and 800 as the maximum. And then the minimum shutter speed. This basically, so in auto, it will automatically determine the shutter speed for increasing the sensitivity according to the lens focal length during ISO auto. So what that does is as you move the camera around, actually, let me just make sure here. What this does is, so my minimum shutter speed is 1/4 of a second, so 1/4. And this one here, ISO auto with minimum shutter speed, how fast do you want the camera to adjust the parameter during the shooting conditions, right? I'll explain that a tad bit more in a sec. So keep an eye on the shutter speed. Actually, let's turn off. No, let's leave that on. I was going to turn off the linked auto exposure, but this actually will work better with it connected. So keep an eye on the shutter speed there. And you'll see the shutter speed is changing. 1/13 of a second. 1/10, 1/8, 1/4, but notice it does not go any lower than 1/4. Okay. Now let's switch this over and notice again, actually, notice the ISO is not changing whatsoever. Right? The ISO is not changing at all. Oh yeah, it got face detect on. What do you know? Recognize bodiless Bella. So let's go in here and change this. Oh, let's go back. Leave that as fast. And let's change this to shutter speed control. So now this will increase the sensitivity. It will leave the shutter speed at 1/4, but it will change the ISO instead. So what does that actually mean? Well, let's hope for the best here. And notice the ISO is now changing. 1/200, or 1/200. Ha! The ISO is now changing. It's at ISO 200. But notice the shutter speed remains at 1/4 or 1/4 of a second the entire time. It does not change. But the ISO is now constantly changing. So that is what these two different settings do. Now, in regards to linking the auto exposure, as I was saying, it is not a replacement for spot metering or center weighted metering or anything like that. So let's just move this over to center. And we'll take a shot. And now we'll do another one with spot. I don't even need to take this shot. You can actually see how much of a difference this made. So it is not a replacement for spot metering or anything like that. And there's highlight weighted metering. It's taking all the brights and everything. So as you can see, each one of these parameters makes a remarkable difference in regards to the image that you would get.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how this whole thing works. A couple of settings that I feel should be looked at. They're often not. A lot of times they are just, well, lost and forgotten. You seem to, you see it and then you forget it because, you know, what is that even? What does that even do? So I hope that this illustrates, you know, what these different things actually do. And they are fine-tuned tools to help with you achieving the exposure that you're looking for so you don't miss an opportunity. You know, a lot of people prefer to have full control. However, the camera can change things way faster than you can. And I've been caught out where I'm looking through the viewfinder because it's not electronic, it's optical. I'm looking through the viewfinder, not even realizing that, like, oh wow, the light's changed so much because I'm just wrapped up in the moment, take the shot, and it's way underexposed. And it's just nice to have these things to fall back on in regards to the programming and the camera that can aid you in achieving the shots that you want to get. So that's going to be it for this video. If you like the video, leave a like. If you have not already, please do subscribe. Always helps out. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you want to support the channel, that information's at the bottom of the description. Don't forget that you can also become a member of the channel. There's some perks and stuff that I do, you know, membership exclusive videos, as well as early release videos before it goes to the general public. Things like that. Don't forget, I also have a new merch store. You can get some shirts, coffee mugs, 2024 calendar with my photos on. Not my photos, but photos I've taken. I tried to tie it up so it's basically, as the months go by, I tried to keep it as close to season specific as possible. It's actually a pretty nice calendar. I'm going to get one for myself. And yeah, baseball caps, winter beanies, jackets, all kinds of stuff. So check it out. That's in somewhere on the channel description thing, little bar at the bottom, you know. Anyway, check it out. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'm going to go. You'll see me on my next video. I'm out.